Welcome back to Cheater's True Stories, where we dive into the wildest, most jaw-dropping tales of love, betrayal, and everything in between. Today's story? Oh, it's a roller coaster you won't see coming. Picture this. A lonely wife, a broken-down car, and a cramped motel room with the one person she never expected to unravel her world. Buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell. Because trust me, you're gonna need to hear what happens next. Let's jump into Laura's story. Laura Evans, 45, stood in the dim light of her suburban kitchen, the silence pressing against her like a heavy fog. For 3 months, her husband David had been working in another city, leaving her alone in their quiet house with nothing but her thoughts. She missed him, the way he used to wrap his arms around her, the way his laughter once filled the room. But lately, their calls were curt, his promises vague, and the distance between them wasn't just physical anymore. It was a slow, aching void that gnawed at her, night after lonely night. That morning, sunlight streamed through the window, catching the glint of her reflection in a nearby mirror. She paused, studying herself. Chestnut hair cascading over her shoulders, sharp green eyes framed by faint lines of time. She still turned heads, still felt that flicker of vitality inside her. "I'm not invisible," she whispered, though the words felt hollow without someone to prove them true. In the kitchen, Ethan, David's 20-year-old son from his first marriage, was sprawled at the table, munching on cereal. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a mop of dark hair and a grin that danced between charming and infuriating, he had a way of lighting up a room. "Ethan," Laura called, forcing a stern tone, "you're off to college this fall. You've got to get serious about driving. Take me to see your dad today, it'll be good practice." He smirked, spoon halfway to his mouth. "Only if Dad upgrades this rust bucket to something worth driving, stepmom." Laura rolled her eyes but smiled despite herself. "We'll see. Just get ready, we're leaving in an hour." The plan was simple. Surprise David at his office 3 hours away. Laura craved the look on his face when she walked in unannounced, a reminder that she still mattered. The drive started off lighthearted, Ethan blasting pop tunes, cracking terrible jokes while Laura scrolled her phone in the backseat, half laughing at his antics. But 2 hours in, disaster struck. A piercing screech erupted from the engine, followed by a plume of smoke. The car sputtered and died on a desolate stretch of highway, miles from anywhere. "What the hell, Ethan?" Laura snapped, her pulse spiking. He yanked the wheel, pulling over. "It's dead. Engine's toast," he muttered, kicking the tire in frustration. They were stranded. Laura's phone flickered with 1 bar of signal, useless. Ethan tried calling mechanics, but no one could come until morning. Hours ticked by as the sun dipped low, painting the sky blood-red. Finally, they spotted a flickering neon sign in the distance, Pinewood Motel. Exhausted and out of options, they trudged toward it, the gravel crunching underfoot like a countdown to something inevitable. At the motel's grimy front desk, a bored clerk slid them a key. "Last room we got. Take it or leave it." Laura's stomach sank as they stepped into room 12. It was a claustrophobic box, a sagging double bed with a threadbare quilt, a rickety armchair, a buzzing fluorescent light casting eerie shadows. A single window framed a view of the parking lot where a stray cat prowled under a flickering street lamp. "One night," Ethan said, flopping onto the bed with a grin. "Relax, stepmom. It's an adventure." Laura forced a laugh, but the air felt thick, charged with something she couldn't name. She escaped to the tiny bathroom, locking the door behind her. Under the shower's scalding spray, steam clouded the mirror as she pressed her forehead against the tiles. "What am I doing here?" she murmured. The loneliness of her marriage, the absurdity of this situation, it swirled in her mind like a storm. She emerged in a lightweight sundress, the fabric clinging to her damp skin, and decided to clear her head downstairs. The motel's diner was a cozy nook, all chipped for mica and warm light. She ordered a glass of Pinot Noir, sipping it slowly as the streetlights glowed outside, casting long shadows that mirrored her tangled thoughts. Ethan was upstairs, probably sprawled out, scrolling his phone. She wondered if he felt the same restless energy she did. Back in the room, the air shifted the moment she turned the key. Ethan lay sprawled across the bed, fresh from a shower, his robe loose and slipping off one shoulder. The soft rise and fall of his chest, the damp hair curling at his neck, it stopped her cold. He was asleep, oblivious, his youthful strength laid bare in a way that hit her like a punch. Her heart slammed against her ribs. "Laura, get a grip," she hissed to herself. "This is David's son." But her eyes lingered, tracing the lines of his form, stirring memories of a younger, wilder version of herself. A woman who craved and was craved in return. She sank into the armchair, the springs creaking under her weight, and tried to focus on anything else. The hum of the air conditioner, the distant rumble of a truck. But the room shrank around her, the walls pressing in until Ethan's presence filled every corner. She dozed fitfully, jolted awake in the dead of night by a rustle. Ethan's eyes were open, locked on her in the dim light. "Can't sleep?" he asked, voice low and rough with sleep. She swallowed hard, feigning calm. "Too hot." He sat up, tugging the robe tighter, but his gaze didn't waver. "You've been different lately," he said, hesitant. "Since Dad's been gone, I see it. You're lost, and tonight being here with you, it's messing with my head." The words hung heavy, electric. Laura's breath caught. "Ethan, stop," she whispered, but her voice trembled, betraying her. He stood, closing the distance between them, his bare feet silent on the worn carpet. She rose, too, instinctively, her hands brushing his shoulders as if drawn by a magnet. Time froze. Their eyes met, a storm of guilt, longing, and something darker swirling between them. His hand grazed her arm, steadying her as she swayed, and the touch seared her skin. "I've always noticed you," he said, barely audible. "Not just as my stepmom, as you." Her mind screamed to pull away, but her body betrayed her, leaning closer. The air crackled, thick with unspoken desire. She could feel his breath, warm and ragged, inches from her lips. "This is wrong," she choked out, but the words felt like a lie. In that moment, the world narrowed to the heat of his gaze, the pulse hammering in her throat. Then a sharp knock shattered the spell. "Car's ready," a gruff voice called from outside. Ethan flinched, stepping back. Dawn was breaking, spilling gray light through the curtains. Reality crashed in like a tidal wave. They dressed in silence, avoiding each other's eyes, and headed out. Ethan had fixed the car with a mechanic's help, and they drove off to pick up David, the tension between them a live wire ready to snap. As the city skyline loomed ahead, Laura stared out the window, her mind a battlefield. Ethan's profile in the driver's seat, strong, quiet, burned into her. She'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross, even if nothing physical had happened. Yet, the weight of it crushed her, but beneath the guilt, a reckless thrill pulsed. What had she unleashed? And what would David see in her eyes when they finally met? And there you have it, folks. The night that turned Laura's world upside down. Was it a moment of weakness or the start of something she can't escape? Will David ever suspect the storm brewing right under his nose? I need your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below. Did Laura cross a line, or was she just chasing what she's been missing? Smash that like button if this story got your heart racing, subscribe if you're new here, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next explosive tale on Cheater's True Stories. See you in the next one. Stay curious and stay tuned.